Apparently, China has a very different version of reality, akin to George Orwell's 1984. How China embraces Russian propaganda and its version of the war. So this is like pot meat kettle, right? Hours after Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24th, the Chinese Communist Party tabloid Global Times posted a video saying that a large number of Ukrainian soldiers had laid down their arms. Its source, the Russian state-controlled television network RT. 2 days later, China's state broadcaster, Central Television Station, flashed a breaking news alert quoting Russia's parliamentary speaker that President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine had fled Kiev. CCTV then created a related hashtag on the Twitter-like platform Weibo that was viewed 510 million times and used by 163 media outlets in the country. On February 28, as Russia became an international pariah, the Russian state-owned news agency Sputnik shared a message of strength with its 11 million Weibo followers. The Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Sputnik said Russia still had friends in the world, especially a real giant like China. Yeah. Add oil, Russia, Sputnik's Weibo followers at Feng GYI King cheered on, using a Chinese expression of support. All the people in the world who love justice are friends of Russia. As European and American officials press Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and other online platforms to clamp down on Russian disinformation, China has embraced Russia's propaganda and lies about the war. China's state-owned media outlet quoted their Russian counterparts' coverage without verification, helping to magnify their disinformation on the Chinese internet. They put Russian officials on state television networks with little pushback on their claims. When it comes to information, the Chinese government is a control freak, dictating and censoring what its 1.4 billion people consume. Beijing has silenced and jailed its critics and journalists. It has coerced and co-opted the biggest Chinese online platforms to enforce its censorship guidelines. It blocks nearly all major Western news and information websites, including Google, Twitter, YouTube, Wikipedia, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the BBC. Yet, as the world faces one of its most serious geopolitical crises since the end of the Cold War, China let down its digital defenses and allowed Kremlin's propaganda machine to help shape public perception of the war. No wonder the Chinese internet is overwhelmingly pro-Russia, pro-war, and pro-Putin. If China wants to remain officially ambiguous about whether it supports Vladimir V. Putin's war, refusing to call it an invasion and abstaining from a UN vote to condemn the invasion, its state-controlled media nonetheless makes very clear where China stands. The China-Russia Information Alliance is forged over a shared worldview of two leaders, Xi Jinping and Vladimir V. Putin, who, out of deep distrust of the United States, are determined to challenge the West's dominance in the competition for public opinion. Yeah, but you can challenge for public opinion, but not when you're telling lies, you know, that can be refuted. In a 2013 speech, Mr. Xi urged the country's propaganda workers to enhance the country's international discourse power under the notion of telling China's story well. During a visit to RT's headquarters in the same year, Mr. Putin said the network was created to break the Anglo-Saxon monopoly on the global information streams. In 2015, Mr. Xi and Mr. Putin decided the two countries should strengthen their cooperation in media. Since then, they have held a Sino-Russian media forum each year, aiming to redefine the map of the international discourse. Last November, a RT executive said at the forum that major Chinese media outlets quoted RT.com on average 2,500 times a week in 2021. Many Chinese media organizations admire RT and Sputnik, which they believe have broken the West's information monopoly, or at least muddied the water. Many media experts have analyzed that China's state-owned media could learn from their successes. One academic paper detailed RT's coverage of Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014 to illustrate how the Russian network carefully planned its reporting strategy to increase its seeming credibility and accessibility so it could set its own agenda. When Russia invaded Ukraine, Kremlin's media machines worked well in China. Combined with Beijing's censorship of pro-Ukraine content, they wove a web of disinformation that proved difficult for most Chinese online users to escape. The message they're trying to drive home: Russia's military actions are anti-West, anti-NATO expansion, and anti-Nazi, thus justified and popular. In China's state media, there is very little about the international condemnation of Russia. Ukraine's success in the battle for public opinion led by President Zelensky or anti-war protests in Russia. The 1-2 punch is working, keeping the Chinese public from facts while sowing confusion. On the Chinese social media platform, many people adopted Mr. Putin's and Russian media's language, calling the Ukrainian side extremists and neo-Nazis. By the way, the president of Ukraine happens to be Jewish, but yet they're neo-Nazis. They kept bringing up the Azov battalion as if it represented all of Ukraine. The battalion, a unit of the Ukrainian National Guard, is known for having neo-Nazi sympathizers, but remains a fringe presence in the country and its military. President Zelensky himself is Jewish and won the presidential election in 2019 with 73% of the votes. His approval rate soared to over 90% recently for his wartime leadership. So there you have it. The Chinese media are spreading propaganda that's favorable to Russia, and also in China they block a lot of stuff that won't get through. So if you're Chinese and in China and you don't really have an open mind or curious to find other ways like using a VPN, because I know in China you can use a VPN. It's not illegal because there are people who make videos on YouTube and they broadcast out of China. So if they can get hold of a VPN and they can read the news and see what's going on, they know it's a bunch of lies that the Chinese government is spreading about the war in Ukraine.